From Partition to Present, Navigating the Complexities of the Middle East Conflict, an introspection of the Palestine-Israel War. The conflict between Palestine and Israel has been a complex and deeply rooted issue, with decades of history and a wide range of geopolitical, social, and religious factors at play. In today's presentation, we'll delve into the complex and multifaceted conflict between Palestine and Israel. Spanning decades and marked by numerous historical events, the conflict has reshaped the political, social, and cultural landscapes of the Middle East. My name is Aniyah Covington, and I will be your presenter for today. Historical background between Israel and Palestine. The conflict in Palestine dates back to World War I, when Britain took control of the region. The Jewish minority and Arab majority in the region led to growing tensions, with the UN proposing a plan to divide Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War, known as the Nakba, displaced many Palestinians, and Israel gained control of most of the territory. The 1967 Six-Day War further altered borders, with Israel capturing significant territories, including the West Bank and Gaza. Jerusalem is a major point of contention, with both Israel and Palestinians claiming it as their capital. The Gaza Strip faces economic challenges with high unemployment, with Hamas gaining control after Israel's withdrawal in 2005. The UN recognizes 143 countries supporting Palestinian statehood, but Israel rejects a two-state solution. Approximately 4.9 million Palestinians are registered as refugees, with Israel denying their right to return. Many people in Gaza live below the poverty line, and the country has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world. After Hamas won the 2006 Palestinian elections, there was a blockade and ensuing hostilities. With the majority of Palestinians murdered, the fighting came to an end in May 2021 with a truce. As seen, tension remained ever boiling as time carried on until October 7, 2023. Hamas fighters launched an assault from Gaza, killing 1,200 people in Israel and taking more than 250 hostages. This triggered a massive Israeli military offensive in Gaza. More than 46,700 people have been killed, the majority of them being women and children, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. A ceasefire. Politics and policies. What does a ceasefire entail? A ceasefire agreement in Gaza has been announced, providing a much-needed break after 15 months of violence and destruction. This agreement is crucial, but significant challenges remain, and the situation is still precarious. Reports indicate that Israeli attacks continued even shortly after the ceasefire was announced, highlighting that the conflict is far from over. As the conflict aims to reach a conclusion, efforts have been made to construct ceasefire policies and deals in return of lives. The ceasefire has 3 phases, each with uncertainties. The agreement calls for an immediate end to attacks and for humanitarian aid, with 600 trucks allowed daily. If the first phase succeeds, by the end of 6 weeks, 1,000 Palestinian detainees and 33 Israeli hostages may be released, and discussions for a permanent ceasefire will begin. Phase 2 involves more troop withdrawals and discussions on Gaza's governance, while Phase 3 focuses on finalizing governance and reconstruction plans. Both parties agreed that if the permanent ceasefire isn't established by Phase 3's end, the ceasefire would continue as long as negotiations are ongoing. However, only Phase 1's details are settled, meaning further negotiations are necessary for the later phases. Although public sentiment regarding Israel and Palestine has shifted dramatically, policies have not kept pace. Movements in the U.S. now advocate for an immediate and lasting ceasefire. Biden's administration faces criticism for its perceived failure to protect Palestinians and uphold human rights amid escalating brutality. Violent extremism. What is violent extremism? Violent extremism is the belief and actions of people who support or use violence to achieve ideologic, religious, or political goals. This includes terrorism and other forms of politically motivated and communal violence. With a series of deadly terror attacks across the country and near nightly clashes between Israeli security forces and Palestinian militias in the West Bank, 2022 saw an increase in violence compared with recent years. What does it mean? Violent extremism can create fear and instability in the communities impacted, leading to an economic decline, social division, and a breakdown in trust and cohesion. In terms of the war, weaponized violent extremism served as an act done in retaliation, though the degree did not match that of the cause, thus further disproving that the weight of this war was not fought for that of protection, but for that of example and retribution. Ongoing conflict, the future of Israel in global relations. While Israel reigns the perpetuated winning side of the war, this has not been without conflict upon its own side. Although there has not been a major terrorist incident in the West in the wake of October 7th and the subsequent war in Gaza, terrorists and violent extremists across the ideologic spectrum have capitalized on the conflict for radicalization, recruitment, and caused the violence. The Israel-Hamas war has also led to an increase in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia across the West, as well as deepening societal polarization exacerbating by terrorists, violent extremists, and state actors. Myriad actors from across the ideologic spectrum have sought to exploit real concerns over the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip and its impact on civilians to radicalize individuals to commit violence in retaliation or to further their own propaganda and narratives. For example, far-right violent extremists have actively sought to mainstream anti-Semitic narratives by instilling instructions on their social channels on how to red pill those who are far left or left-leaning toward white supremacist narratives and causes. The Israel-Hamas war has also created a unique environment for terrorist and violent extremist groups across the ideological spectrum to build alliances around seemingly newfound common ground, particularly anti-Semitism in response to Israel's actions, worsening global relations for future pursuits of unionizing and joint alliance. All eyes on Gaza. Personal oversight and opinions. I believe the weaponization of war as a way to present oneself as a weaponized power is the very reason as to why war will never be a resolution to a conflict. Why is it that violence is always justified when it is depicted to be the retaliation once started by the hand retaliating? The cycle of retaliation and conflicts all too often perpetuates violence rather than leading to a peaceful resolution. The justification of violence in the name of retaliation only serves to fuel further conflict and bloodshed rather than addressing the underlying issues causing the conflict in the first place. The happenings within Gaza were not taken in consideration in terms of the individuals whom were forced to suffer for the fate of a few, and yet most deem this is a mere sacrifice in war. Where is the war in murdering those without the ability nor mindset to comprehend what it means to fight back? What sense is bloodshed to the innocent? It is truly a tragic reality, but true peace can only be achieved when both sides come together to find a resolution through diplomatic means and mutual understanding, rather than resorting to violence. Thank you.